You're watching TAG TV. You're watching TAG TV.
Hello viewers, I'm your host Uzma Jafri with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show with Indian Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj's participation at the BRICS Foreign Minister meeting in Johannesburg. Swaraj insisted on the need of an enhancement in the cooperation amongst the BRICS members vis-a-vis pertinent prevailing trade and developmental issue. She also pitched for a joint fight against the rising menace of global terrorism and deepening of cooperation in dealing with the growing cases of money laundering. A report.
Amid a rapidly evolving dynamics of global trade and geopolitics, Foreign Minister of Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa congregated in the city of Johannesburg to discuss and find a solution to the immediate challenges lying in front of the BRICS grouping. The representatives of all the country attending the meeting spoke positively of the great progress of the BRICS cooperation over the past decade and highly appreciated the contributions of each individual country in taking it to that level. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, while congratulating South Africa for chairing the meet, applauded the cooperation mechanism of the grouping that had improved significantly owing to combined efforts of the members. He also asked all members to come together in building a strategically robust cluster.
金砖战略伙伴关系的内涵，结束非友交往、心心相印的规矩。我们要相互支持各国选择的发展道路，共同发掘创新动力、增长潜力。我们要坚持对话协商，深化战略互信，树立国家间关系的典范。我们要秉持开放包容，继续开展金砖加强合作，拓展关系。
In the wake of the US President Donald Trump's imposition of tariffs on imports of steel, triggering a wave of protectionism, the ministers pledged their support towards making global governance more representative with greater participation of emerging markets and developing countries in global decision-making. The ministers emphasized the importance of an open and inclusive world economy enabling all countries and people to share the benefits of globalization, a statement released after the meeting. They underlined their firm commitment to free trade and the centrality of a rule-based, transparent, non-discriminatory multilateral trading system as embodied in the World Trade Organization. While commending South Africa for convening second stand-alone foreign minister meeting in the country, Indian Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj categorically condemned the menace of terrorism that has also affected the BRICS countries in recent times.
We reiterate our commitment to implement our leaders' mandate on counter-terrorism under South Africa's BRICS chairmanship. BRICS cooperation in strategic areas of security, counter-terrorism, UN reforms, peacekeeping, de-radicalization, cyber-security, energy security, global governance and international and regional hotspot issues are deliberated in detail during our NSA's meetings. It is imperative now that the common ground reached in our NSA's meeting on setting up a BRICS Security Forum is implemented fully.
India and other members of the BRICS grouping have said they oppose the new wave of protectionism and the systematic impact of unilateral measures that are incompatible with World Trade Organization rules. BRICS grouping that constitutes over 40% of the global population and equaled a third of the global gross domestic product in PPP terms in 2015 has emerged as one of the most influential clusters of the world.
They also expressed concern over the ongoing conflict and heightened tensions in the Middle East region, especially with regard to the Israeli-Palestinian situation. We are now joined by Subhru Kamal Datta, political and economic expert, to talk further over the issue. Mr. Datta, how do you see the growing influence of BRICS in today's times?
So it's quite obvious that such a gigantic grouping, I mean, if it is, if it's channelized in a proper way, and if the channelization is in a positive way. It would be not only good for BRICS as a bloc as such, for economic development, governance and growth, but it would also accelerate the growth process across the globe. If BRICS coordination between BRICS country is done in a proper and in a positive manner, that would tremendously impact the world economy also.
Do you think this grouping can effectively counter the wave of protectionism triggered by the US President Donald Trump?
I understand that if the coordination and the economic connectivity between the BRICS nations, especially between Brazil, Russia, then China as well as South Africa, if there is a proper coordination between all these 4 countries as such, I think it would boost up the economy of the whole Asia Pacific division also. And at the same time, it would also help in a lot in accelerating the growth process between the BRICS nation as such. And that way we will be able to evade the protectionism of United States of America.
Thank you, Mr. Datta. Moving on. An anti-Pakistan protest was held by the Pashtun Council Canada in Toronto City against the recent firing by Pakistani security forces on a rally of Pashtun activists in South Waziristan. Pashtuns have long blamed they have been victims of gross human rights violations by Pakistan's military in federally administered tribal areas.
A brutal and callous act by the Pakistan Army. This amateur video shot at an undisclosed location in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa reveals the atrocities being committed against the Pashtuns by Pakistan's security forces. It is an evidence of extrajudicial killings and torture of innocent Pashtuns. Now Pashtun community the world over is exposing Pakistan Army's brutal face. Pashtun Council Canada held a protest recently in Toronto City against Pakistani security agencies and the state-sponsored Taliban responsible for attacks on innocent Pashtuns. The protesters staged demonstrations to show their solidarity with the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement or PTM activists. Several PTM activists were allegedly killed as Pakistani security forces attacked a peaceful rally in South Waziristan earlier this week. The protesters demanded an investigation into the attack and demanded the international community to intervene.
According to the Constitution of Pakistan, everybody has the right to exercise their peaceful protest. But whenever Pashtun did it, they have been defamed, they have been tortured, they have been killed. And this game is going on for so many years. So now, this blame game and this dirty politics and this Pashtun genocide should be stopped. I urge the human rights activists, the civil society and the politicians in Pakistan and all over the world to raise their voices against this unhuman act in which they are killing, in which they are victimizing the innocent Pashtun.
ये नहीं है कि हम यहाँ पे सिर्फ पख्तून इकट्ठे हुए हैं, हमारे यहाँ हमारे सिंधी भाई भी है, हमारे बलोच भाई भी है, हमारे मुहाजिर भाई भी है, हमारे अफ़गान भाई भी है, हम सब मज़लूम हैं, हम सब मज़लूम हैं, इसलिए यहाँ इकट्ठे हुए हैं, इंसाफ मांग रहे हैं। इंसाफ हम उन लोगों से मांग रहे हैं जो हमारे ऊपर जुल्म करते हैं, जो कईयों सालों से करते हैं।
The Pashtuns are getting support of the members of Baloch, Sindhi and other communities who are also facing atrocities by the state and non-state actors in Pakistan.
बहुत देर तक हम लोगों ने बर्दाश्त किया, लेकिन अब हमारे पास कोई और ऑप्शन नहीं है। हम सबको, सब मजलूम कौमों को एक साथ मिलकर रियासत की नाइंसाफियों का मुकाबला करना ही पड़ेगा। हमारे पास भी और कोई दूसरा रास्ता नहीं है, क्योंकि जुल्म जब बहुत ज़्यादा हद से बढ़ जाता है तो फिर मजलूम को एक दूसरे के साथ के अलावा और उसके पास कुछ बचता नहीं है। हमारे साथ, हमारी कौमों के साथ जो कुछ होता रहा, जो कुछ नाइंसाफियाँ की गई, उन नाइंसाफियों को ख़त्म करने के लिए या उनसे लड़ने के लिए हमें खुद ही एक दूसरे के साथ खड़े होकर ताकत बनना पड़ेगा। इसके अलावा हमारे पास और कोई रास्ता अब नहीं बचा है।
Pashtuns have long blamed that they have been targets of military operations, internal displacement, ethnic stereotyping and abductions by the Pakistani security forces. They accuse that Pakistan Army functions along with militant groups in the region and indiscriminately uses force against innocent Pashtun.
Moving on to Afghanistan, where the Islamic State and the Taliban are on a rampage as they continue to create mayhem to overthrow the US-backed government and reimpose Islamic law around 17 years after it was removed from power following the 9/11 attacks. The attacks have particularly intensified after the launch of the spring offensive by Taliban insurgents in the run-up to the parliamentary elections slated later this year. A report.
Bloodshed and violence continue in beleaguered Afghanistan. At least 8 people were killed and several others were grievously injured as a bomb exploded in west of Kabul, where more than 2,000 religious scholars from across the country congregated for a meeting at the Loya Jirga tent, denouncing years of conflict. The meeting had planned to issue a fatwa for Taliban militants, urging them to restore peace, allowing foreign troops to leave. Taliban and other insurgent groups in the country, whose endeavour is to topple the democratically elected government, have been unrelenting in their attacks, even during the holiest month of Islam, Ramadan.
انفجار زیاد قوی بود. وقتی که انفجار شد حتی در ما که پیش مکتب بودیم زمین لرزه کرد، خود ما هم در زمین خو کردیم و ما که رفتیم چی مرده شهیدای زیاد بود.
Since the withdrawal of most of the international troops in 2014, the extremists have gained ground and now control more than 50% of the country. The Taliban are seeking to return the country with a strict Islamic rule after their 2001 ouster by US-backed troops. A series of bombing in Kabul has killed dozens of people in recent months and shown no signs of easing. The United States, that has been using a multi-pronged strategy to bring Taliban to a negotiation table, also seems to have failed, as Taliban has rebuffed the benevolent peace offer made to the insurgent by Ghani government in February. In fact, they announced at the start of their new spring offensive, dubbed Al-Khandak, in April. With a greater US military campaign expected against the Taliban's field commanders and special units during the next several months, and Taliban's likely reciprocation to those attacks, is poised to bring a challenge to the country's much-delayed elections.
Terrorists have killed dozens of people in Kabul in recent months, including 10 journalists in April. Only days back, the Interior Ministry was targeted. Moving on. Disillusionment accompanied with resentment is rapidly mounting amongst the people of Gilgit-Baltistan, the illegally occupied territory of Pakistan, owing to Islamabad's perennially discriminatory and exploitative policies towards the region. Whether it is the imposition of unjust taxes or bringing in of draconian laws, Pakistan has used every tool at its disposal to marginalize and suppress the people of the region. In the run-up to the general elections slated next month, Islamabad, in a bid to take further control of the region, has imposed GB Order 2018, a law which not only gives overriding powers to the Prime Minister of the country to administer the region, but puts common people's lives in jeopardy.
Words like distress and discrimination have become almost synonymous with the region of Gilgit-Baltistan, an illegally occupied territory that has been suffering the worst form of atrocities at the hands of the authoritarian rulers sitting in Islamabad. The region, which doesn't find a place in the constitutional framework of Pakistan, is constantly made to suffer through suppressive laws framed by Pakistan's federal government. Any dissenting voice is suppressed with severe high-handedness. Pakistan has been conveniently introducing laws and reforms in the region to make people's lives more miserable. Recently, in a repressive move, it introduced, rather imposed, the Gilgit-Baltistan Order 2018 that provides complete authority of the region to the Prime Minister of the country. Islamabad has drawn strong backlash of the local leaders who accuse it of using diabolic tricks and tactics to hold siege of the region. They say the document was brought in to further weaken the limited powers the local leaders possessed. However, it was completely ineffective.
और शमदूर से बल्तिस्तान के सरहद तक अच्छी तरह लोगों पर कंट्रोल रखते थे। अब 49 की जगह पर 14 से ज्यादा जजेस हैं और कल का प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करने वाला चीफ सेक्रेटरी भी शामिल है और उसके साथ 12 सेक्रेटरीज भी हैं, एक वजीर आला और गवर्नर भी है और बहुत सारे वजीर भी है। नतीजा जीरो।
The deep state institution of the army also plays a significant role vis-a-vis policies of the occupied territory. Pakistan Army and its secret agency, ISI, Inter-Service Intelligence, who for years have been using the land and resource of the region to run the factory of terrorism in order to wage a proxy war against India, use political mechanisms for their benefits. Activists and leaders who try to speak against the army meet horrific consequences. They are picked, detained incommunicado for an indefinite period, brutally tortured and sometimes even murdered.
Years-long war and incessant attacks by the Taliban have left the country of Afghanistan reeling in tatters. People have constantly been living in a state of fear as incidents of terror attacks have been increasing a lot. Amid all this, however, the political and strategic ally of Afghanistan, India, has been assisting the country in rebuilding itself. It has not only been building infrastructure and helping countries trade boost, but also providing to create a platform to the Afghani artists who recently showcased their exquisite artwork at an exhibition held in the Indian capital, New Delhi. A report.
In war-torn Afghanistan, it's not just the threat of insurgent groups, but also the repression of creative expression. People have been helpless for decades now, but with India as its ally, Afghani people are heaving a sigh of relief. Recently, an art exhibition titled Afghan Art, A Land in Conflict and Hope was organized in New Delhi to showcase the vivacious paintings by the Afghani artists, propelling a new discussion on contemporary Afghan life.
हिंदुस्तान ऐसा जगह है हुनर को परवरिश देता है। ये मेरा आइडिया था कि इधर इंडिया में बहुत पेंटिंग के बारे में लोग बहुत जानता है और कीमत देते हैं। और मैं क्यों आया इधर इंडिया में एग्जीबिशन फाइन आर्टिस्ट का, क्योंकि मैं उधर अफ़गानिस्तान में देख लिया था सालों में, टीवी में, अखबारों में, दुनिया सब अफ़गानिस्तान का वो खून खराबा, झगड़ा और अच्छी वही नहीं करे, ख़बर नहीं है, क्योंकि उधर प्रॉब्लम है ज़रूर, ये तो है, लेकिन मेरा आइडिया ये था कि मैं एक एग्ज़िबिशन दे दूँ इंडिया में और लोग देखेंगे कि अफ़गानिस्तान सिर्फ जंग, झगड़ा, खून खराबा का जगह नहीं है, इधर भी आर्टिस्ट लोगों भी है, खूबसूरत जगह है उसमें।
India and Afghanistan enjoy age-old cultural ties and have deep-rooted linkages in the field of music, art and literature. These artists infuse this exhibition with their exquisite artworks, sharing different realities that exist along with and beyond a war-riddled tragedy. Going through decades of war and bloodshed, many of Ate's countrymen had fled the country. Most of them came to India where they are assisted for sustenance, and that is why they feel safe here.
Very nice. I mean, it was just accidental that I came here, and when I saw those paintings, I could guess that it is from the landscape of Afghanistan. And I have been all over the world, so I know Afghanistan very well. And I also know that Afghanistan, and especially Kabul and Kandahar, they have been the hub of the cultural activities for South Asia for the last 300 years. So when I saw some of those paintings, I could clearly see that the artist has done a wonderful job in depicting the landscape, the people, the places, the markets, and some of the iconic like Bamyans, Buddha, the statue. So fascinating, very nicely captured, very rich in color, and quite engaging visually.
Living in a region which is stuck between conflict and hope, these artworks signify happiness and vibrancy. Despite its rich and ancient art heritage, Afghanistan has less room for artistic expression to flourish compared to the inclination towards art in India. These exhibitions not only promote cross-cultural understanding but also enhance the bilateral ties among nations.
Afghanistan has been facing wars, but exhibitions like these help us build a canvas of hope. Moving on to Nepal, where an institution is providing care and education to the children, especially the ones affected by the deadly human immunodeficiency virus HIV. Established in 2011 by Rajkumar Pun, the Safalta Siksha Sadan is home to 23 HIV-infected children aged below 16 who now aspire to achieve big in life.
Rajkumar Band gave up his career, comfort and luxury just to realize his dream of bringing these HIV-affected children to the forefront who are otherwise treated as an outcast in the society. Addressed as daddy by every student for the responsibilities and duties he has been fulfilling, Band treats all 23 students as his own children. Children here are provided with food, education and other infrastructure, supporting their growth and above all, unconditional love.
म चाहिँ सानोदाखेरि मेरो आमा बुवा चाहिँ मर्नुभयो अनि त्यतिखेर चाहिँ अब मलाई थाहा थिएन अनि जस अनि पछि मलाई चाहिँ आफन्तहरूले राख्नुभयो अनि उहाँहरूले राखिसकेपछि अनि बिस्तारै म बिरामी हुँदै गएँ अनि बिरामी हुँदै गएपछि मेरो शरीरमा चाहिँ एउटा HIV भाइरस देखिएछ त्यसपछि चाहिँ अनि आफन्तले नै अनि पछि काठमाडौँबाट चाहिँ पत्रिकामा पढेर चाहिँ ड्याडीहरू जानुभयो ड्याडी अनि मम्मी जानुभयो अनि आफन्तहरूले अनि पछि HIV भनेर अलि जोस नराम्रै गर्नुभयो अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ अनि उहाँहरूले ड्याडी हुनुभएको ठाउँमा पठाइदिनु भयो.
The institute has literally become a whole world to the students. The students who were once reeling under depression and battling with a social stigma are now unwavering in taking on the challenges life is throwing at them. Rajkumar says he was not supported by any government organization when he approached them for their students.
जब हामीले नानी बाबुहरूलाई भर्नाको लागि अन्य विद्यालयहरुमा गयौं र उहाँको म्यानेजमेन्ट र त्यहाँको प्रिन्सिपललाई हामीले जब भर्नाको अनुरोध गर्दा उहाँहरूले चाहिँ यस्ता बालबालिकाहरूको आगमनले र भर्ना गर्दाखेरि हाम्रा अन्य बालबालिकाहरू डराउन पनि सक्छन् र अन्य गार्जियनहरूले नबुझेर आफ्नो विद्यार्थीहरू निकाल्न सक्छन् र हाम्रो विद्यालय फेरि शून्य हुन सक्छ र विद्यार्थीहरू घट्न सक्छन् भन्ने कुराले चाहिँ हामीलाई एकदमै दुखी बनाउँथ्यो र अन्य प्रिन्सिपलहरूले चाहिँ तपाईहरु 1 महिनापछि आउनुस् हामी सल्लाह गर्छौं भन्ने गर्नुहुन्थ्यो. त्यसपछि 1 महिनापछि जाँदाखेरि फेरि पनि हाम्रो म्यानेजमेन्टको मिटिङ बसेको छैन, फेरि अर्को महिना आउनुस् भनेर त्यो कुराहरु गर्नुहुन्थ्यो. त्यस्तै कुराले गर्दा हाम्रो बालबालिकाले पढ्न पाएनन्.
Though the government is running campaigns to spread awareness in a bid to reduce the number of infected and fight the stigma, the result has not been encouraging, and in reality, it is the people like Band who have emerged as real inspiration.
Nepal reported more than 30,000 cases of HIV in mid-July 2017 as per the data from the National Center for AIDS and STD Control under the Ministry of Health. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Take care and goodbye.
You're watching TAG TV.